Welcome to the Maria Liberati Show, where food meets art, travel, and life. So what does food mean to you? Well, join me today for my two special guests. One is a charcuterie board expert, and she's going to help us with some tips on putting together your charcuterie board and also how to pair drinks with that charcuterie board. And our other guest, she's a grocery shopping expert who has a blog with expert money saving tips. So she researches and finds out about all these ways that we can save money with grocery shopping, but also with the groceries that you do get. But before we get into the interviews, I wanted to get into some interesting facts about charcuterie boards. So mostly everybody now today knows that buzzword, charcuterie board, but they are popping up at special events and just family gatherings and parties and just everywhere, but not everyone knows where the charcuterie board comes from. So the charcuterie board as we know it today actually originated in 15th century France. The term charcuterie is French, and it actually translates to cooked flesh because traditionally it was a collection of cold cooked meats that were most often pork-based. Over time, the concept of charcuterie has evolved from simply referring to cured meats to an entire display of meats, cheeses, crackers, spreads, and much more. The non-traditional charcuterie boards that don't contain the aforementioned foods are more accurately called food boards or grazing boards. So, now you can have fruits and other vegetables and vegetarian or vegan things on your board also. Technically, that would be considered a grazing board or a food board. But the charcuterie boards have gained in popularity since 2018. They're now a really common sight at all kinds of gatherings and parties, and they're often customized to match an event theme, highlight world cuisines, or even add to the visual appeal of a meal or a buffet. And our guest today is going to tell us a little bit more about putting together your charcuterie board. But a classic charcuterie board traditionally includes cured sliced meats like pepperoni, salami, ham, prosciutto, and sausages, soft cheeses like brie, camembert, Gouda, and Havarti, hard cheeses like cheddar, Gruyere, Manchego, and Swiss, and then bread or crackers, dried and fresh fruits, fresh herbs, nuts, pickled veggies, and sweet and savory spreads or dips. There's actually no set recipe for what goes into a charcuterie board, which really makes it a fun and creative process. I think that's why they're so popular, and the process is just this creative process of putting together something that is really your own. You can choose all your favorite ingredients and whatever you think your guests will love. The key to making a really beautiful charcuterie board is to have a variety of textures, flavors, and while the charcuterie boards can be a delicious treat, it is important to remember that they often contain high fat and high sodium foods, so moderation is key when enjoying these boards, unless you have one of the updated food or grazing boards with other ingredients. Charcuterie is a French word, as I mentioned, and that has been pronounced slightly different in different countries, but in English we're saying it charcuterie. So there you have it. There's my take on charcuterie boards. And I just want to mention, not for anyone to forget to take a look at our best of summer products for 2024. These were products that we selected, really interesting products that may make your summer more enjoyable or more fun. Take a look at the MariaLiberatisShow.com blog, and there are three guides. So you'll see the products that we selected, and they're, as mentioned, they're really interesting and great products that I think you'll like. And if you get to try any of those, please tell us also how you like the products. And I'm giving a shout out to some of the products each week. So this week, I'd like to give a shout out to Hatch Chilies, which is one of the products that we selected. It's actually they're chili peppers that are locally harvested in New Mexico, and they're great for sandwiches or spreads or dips. And the other product is something called the Advisor, which is actually something that you put on your visor to block out the glare of the sun in your car. So those are two of my favorite products that we selected for the Best of Summer Products Guide. And take a look, Maria Liberati Show, themarialiberattishow.com, and you'll find more of the interesting products that we selected. And my special guest today is Angel Tata, and she is the global ambassador of Angel's Envy, which is a really cool whiskey company based in Kentucky, right? Is that right?
Yes, ma'am, Louisville.
Where else,
Yeah.
where else should it be based? That's the perfect place. But anyway, this summer we're talking all about all kinds of summer stuff, and charcuterie boards are like the stars of picnics. And Angel's going to help us with creating the ultimate charcuterie board, and one that will also pair with whiskey. So, Angel, thanks so much for being here.
Thanks for having me. I love talking about cured meats and snacks and parks, so this works out.
Great. So, give us some tips, I guess, for creating that ultimate charcuterie board.
Well, just like with cocktails, I find that three is the magic number. So with charcuterie boards specifically, I always look for three sort of complementary but contrasting ingredients. So I'll go with three cured meats, three different mustards or mustardas, three different sort of sweet, and then three different sort of palate cleansers in a way. So for instance, I'll build the three meats, particularly our whiskey is finished in a port wine barrel.
Uh-huh.
So those highlights of red cherry fruit and dried orange
Uh-huh.
really pair nicely with charcuterie. So I typically pick something a little spicy like a sopressata, something maybe even cured with red wine. I know they add, especially in Italian charcuterie, they'll add red wine right into it. And then maybe something with something a little bit more different, like with rosemary or a savory herb, or even black pepper, so that you have a contrast to that fruit finish we have on our whiskey, and you get something a little more savory. And then I'll layer in the mustard. So I'm a big mustard fan myself. I like to do something with texture, something with flavor, and then something classic. So texture wise, I love just your stone ground, with the actual mustard seeds in there, or the whole mustard seed.
Right.
And then maybe something that has a little apple or pear. A lot of mustards are kind of incorporating fruit in a way. So
Yeah.
that's a nice a balance, right? You get a little spice of the mustard, but then the sweetness.
Uh-huh.
And then something classic that maybe is locally produced to you. So you can share that with your friends and family, and they can go out and get that same mustard. I just see a lot of cool local products coming out, especially just sauces overall. And then yeah, we'll do a little sweetness. So I always love to chew chocolate. Dark chocolate really pairs nicely with those the port finish that we have,
Uh-huh.
but it's up to you. Just pick your favorite.
Uh-huh.
And then a dried fruit of some sort. I personally love cranberries or dried cherries. And then adding in some kind of a fun surprise. Maybe it's that honey sort of, it's called
And
honeycomb,
oh,
you know,
honeycomb. Yes.
yeah,
Yes.
where it's like a little crunchy and sweet.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, that's really nice and
Uh-huh.
unexpected. So, or maybe it's something that you really just love or you have in your cabinet. Often we're kind of putting these together last minute and you're like, okay, all of
Yes.
this pantry, these things work out. And then adding in those palate cleansers. So I like to offer a gluten-free option.
Uh-huh.
So often it will be a rice cracker, or maybe it's just easy as Marcona almonds, hoping that they don't have a nut allergy. I'm always very conscious of allergies. I think that's the first
Yes.
question I always ask.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and then doing maybe like an oyster cracker or everything bagel chips are like really popular, and those are
Yes.
really cool with you get all those spices in one bite. I love that. Or honestly, a cheese cracker, like any kind of Parmesan crisp, that's gluten free as well.
Uh-huh.
Got to bring some cheese and salinity into those charcuterie boards where people maybe necessarily don't want to eat a bunch of cheese with this, but there's a little bit of an option there.
That sounds great. Sounds delicious. So tell us, with whiskeys, are they best served chilled, with ice, warm? How should people
Yeah.
serve whiskeys?
Well, this is something people are very protective over almost. They have the
Yes.
way that they like to drink it.
Hmm.
Personally, for me, it's all about mood, time, and place. So if it's a summer picnic, I prefer to do a cocktail, honestly, especially with a charcuterie board, just because it's a little more longer lasting, right? It's not just straight
Yes.
whiskey. So just like I use the kind of magic number of three with charcuterie, I like to do that with cocktails as well.
Uh-huh.
Equal part cocktails are really easy to make at home. They're really easy to batch. It's a half bottle of each or a full bottle of each, depending on how many people. And
Uh-huh.
you can just do something as simple as vermouth and a little sherry and angels, or excuse me, some port finished bourbon.
Uh-huh.
Or you could make something that's like your whiskey lemonade and perhaps a syrup, or whiskey sweet tea, or just unsweetened tea, and then a local fruit syrup or something you can make at home, which is pretty easy. Um,
Exactly.
those
Yeah,
three
I love
parts
it
are
because it's all
nice.
simple, like you're saying, the three, and it gives people, because in the summertime, who wants to do all this complicated stuff? So it just makes it really simple with the charcuterie board and
Yeah.
using the whiskeys also. That's
And then
great.
you get to try it, yeah, in a different way. But if you're drinking it neat, I mean, I think the best way to taste it is
Uh-huh.
neat first, and then just adding a couple of drops of water. Room temperature, I don't find that whiskey is very good chilled by itself.
Uh-huh.
You don't get all the flavor profile. The esters aren't really opened up. They're kind of like they're a little bit seized in a way because of the temperature.
Uh-huh.
So room temperature, or just a little bit cooler than that is preferred. And I love a big ice cube. It's just beautiful, and especially in the summer months.
Exactly. That's great. Yeah, probably everybody wants to have their ice cubes in their drinks in the summertime. That's
Yes,
great.
ma'am.
Angel, Angel, thank you so much for being here. And hopefully maybe we'll have you back soon to tell us some more food and whiskey combination pairing tips.
Yeah,
Thanks.
anytime. I love Italian food. That's my family's heritage. So
Oh, there
on my
you
mother's
go.
side.
There you go.
Yeah, so anytime you want to chat.
Definitely. Thank you. Thanks so much for being here. Hi, this is Maria Liberati, wishing you a happy summer and hoping that along with indulging in great food and drink this summer, you'll also indulge in my book series for the summertime, your summertime reading list. If you do have a list, The Basic Art of Italian Cooking is a great culinary memoir to enjoy as an armchair trip to Italy and enjoy my food-filled adventures throughout Italy and possibly learn to cook a new dish or two. I've been so excited that the book series, besides winning the Gourmand World Awards, has been growing and growing with readers that continue to just love reading about my fun food-filled adventures and recipes as well in some charming spots of Italy, and also love cooking great food and having fun while doing it. So if you'd like to take a trip to Italy without leaving your armchair this summer, or cook a great meal to impress family and friends, get a copy of The Basic Art of Italian Cooking, The Basic Art of Italian Cooking Holidays and Special Occasions, and The Basic Art of Italian Cooking Da Vinci Style. Peace, love, and pasta. And see you on the Maria Liberati Show podcast, heard wherever podcasts are heard, or find me at marialiberati.com. And my guest today is Ashley Shoring, and she's a blogger, and she's actually an expert on money saving tips, and she's going to be sharing some money saving tips with us. So you might want to listen and see if you can grab some tips that you may not have heard of, some things that you should be doing to save some money. But hey, we're all looking to save money today. Isn't that right, Ashley?
Yeah, it feels like grocery prices have just
Oh
gotten
my
nuts. And even though they're coming down a little bit, it's a lot.
It is. It is a lot. And, I just wonder how, families are able to make ends meet. So, I think it's really important for them to know how to cut corners and learn about, different tips and things like that and saving ideas. I think all of us do, whether, you're feeding a family of five or yourself. We really do. You're absolutely right. And every time you go to the grocery store, prices just seem to keep going and going up. So, but Ashley, so I know you have a blog, right? And is that where you share your money saving
Yeah.
tips? That's the main focus of your blog. I just want to ask you, I usually do, how did you get into doing that type of a blog?
So it actually all started at the beginning of the pandemic. I
Uh-huh.
was a restaurant veteran for
Uh-huh.
20 years. I actually
Wow.
spent a couple of years at Cuba Libre over in Philly.
Oh, yes,
Um,
there you go.
and I worked for Termini Brothers actually also for a little
Yes,
bit.
yes.
But I had gotten laid off from my restaurant job because the whole world shut down. And
Yes.
so when that happened, I was going on walks with some friends, and we would always talk about food. And at the behest of one of my best gal pals who said, why don't you just start a food blog? So I
Mhm.
did. And now I try to spend my time using the things that I learned after those 20 years in the restaurant industry,
Yes.
including roles as a line cook and as a pastry chef,
Uh-huh.
um, and combine that with my MBA from
Uh-huh.
Vanderbilt, and
Yes.
yeah, share recipes and
Share and
ideas.
everything. Yes. So tell us some money saving tips. And I'm sure you have a lot of different tips and things to help us save. Yes.
So I would definitely say the first step is starting with a budget.
Uh-huh.
So tracking all of your receipts and seeing where you're spending money on eating out versus money that you're spending on groceries. If you
Right.
actually sign up for my email list, I have a free budgeting template that
Very
is
good.
Google Sheets, and it'll
Mm-hmm.
help you track your inventory and see what's getting tossed before it's getting used, and also help you track your money.
Mm-hmm.
And then after you do that, I think the next big step that people miss is to work your credit cards. So I would consider getting a specific grocery rewards card.
Uh-huh.
For example, Discover does 5% back on groceries for this quarter.
Uh-huh.
Um, there's a Savor grocery card from Capital One that gives you 3% back on all grocery and restaurant purchases.
Uh-huh.
So getting this cash back kind of helps, and just make sure you pay off the
Definitely.
balance so the
Yes.
interest doesn't knock out those benefits.
Yes. Yes. Oh, that's a great idea. Yeah, that's a great idea for that. And
Uh,
oh yes, go ahead.
Oh, I mean, I listed out a bunch of things, so you can stop
Yes.
me whenever.
No, no, go ahead because we want to hear definitely.
Okay, so the next idea would be to consider flexitarianism,
Uh-huh.
because meat is super expensive.
Yes.
Meat usually costs at least $5 to $6 a pound, and maybe feeds 3 to 4 mouths for a pound. But
Yes.
a pound of dried beans costs maybe $1 to $2, and it'll feed 8 to 10 pound sack of potatoes is $5. So
Mm-hmm.
like bean chili over baked potatoes will feed your whole football team for $10.
Yes.
um, and I've also people ask me, is it better to start with a list, or is it better to shop by the deals that are there in store?
Uh-huh.
Um, and I think a list is better if you're less experienced in the kitchen and you're not comfortable making changes to recipes.
Right.
But if you're a little bit more nimble in the kitchen and you
Uh-huh.
have easy substitutes like using plums or apricots instead of peaches, or
Uh-huh.
using salad parsnips instead of radishes, it's
Mm-hmm.
easier to kind of riff.
Exactly. What about combining? So if you make a list when you go to the store, right, and you see just what you said, like if your list has peaches, but hey, apricots are on sale, then, switch it and at least you have maybe something to work from, possibly.
Absolutely. So like
Hmm.
having that little bit of flexibility and understanding some easy ingredient substitutions that you can
Right.
make
Uh-huh.
will really empower you as a home cook. Um,
Definitely.
and I would also say don't overlook, the discount bins.
Hmm.
Our local Kroger doesn't really go through organic veggies fast enough, I guess.
Right.
Yesterday I just got a giant clamshell of arugula for $1.49.
Oh my
Um,
goodness. Yep.
and it was beautiful.
Wow.
Um,
Yes.
so I think, looking at those things and ugly produce is people,
Yes.
are afraid of the misshapen round tomato, but the heirloom
Ex
ones are never round and they're so much tastier.
Exactly, they are. And the stuff in like the discounted aisle, sometimes it's just because the stores are changing over inventory. So sometimes you can get some great deals. A lot of the supermarkets everywhere do that. So I always recommend for people to do that. And yeah, if you have something on your list and you can switch up getting arugula for $1.49 instead of, say, some salad greens, hey, go for that because salad greens now cost $5 and upwards. So
At least it's
yes,
crazy.
it is crazy.
But one thing kind of to lead off of that last point of,
Uh-huh.
attacking those sales and using those to your benefit,
Uh-huh.
beware of, they've come up with a portmanteau called splaving, which
Uh-huh.
is
What is that?
spending, saving.
Oh.
um, so my dad used to joke that my mom was so good at shopping sales that she cost him a bunch of money.
Oh, yes.
So just because something is on sale, make sure it's something you need, you
Right.
want, or will use, that you
Uh-huh.
have good storage for it, or you
Exactly.
have some sort of plans for retail arbitrage and reselling it online.
Exactly. Exactly. Yes. Who doesn't? I know, I know. And actually, I've been guilty of that too. You see something and you're like, wow, this is a great sale. And you're like excited. And then you bring it home and it's like, wait a minute, what am I going to do with it? Or you see it in your cabinet for like months and it's like, geez, I never used whatever it was. But I got a great bargain, but it really isn't a great bargain because you're not using it.
Exactly. Um, and so, yeah, I guess then the next idea is shopping in season and considering getting either a CSA and or an animal share, because
Right.
when you're supporting these farms, they'll give you a discount on, bulk purchasing.
Uh-huh.
So it's a big investment at the beginning of the season, but then, you can get half of a cow for $400 and feed your whole family for a year.
Uh-huh.
Um, and then to that end, farmers markets are
Mhm.
really a great place. I suggest going at the end of market when,
Right.
farmers want to get rid of whatever inventory they have
Exactly.
rather than bring it back. And
Exactly.
SNAP, if you're on SNAP or EBT benefits, a
Uh-huh.
lot of farmers markets will double your dollars of
Oh,
SNAP.
wow. Oh, wow. That's great too. But yeah, I agree. A lot of the farmers markets, if they're only like, say, on the weekends, your last day, like a Sunday, kind of as it gets to the end of the farmers market, they will start discount. A lot of times they'll start discounting things, so you might get some really great bargains that way also that you can use. Yep, definitely.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a good way of working that. And then I also really recommend using every grocery trip as an opportunity to build your pantry.
Uh-huh.
So when times get hard, having a pantry means that there's food to be had, even if you don't have any money in the bank.
Mm-hmm.
So I do at least 2 no spend challenges throughout the year, usually right in January, because we just spent a bunch of money on Christmas. And
Uh-huh.
then I do it again at the end of the growing season. I have a post on it on my blog, but
Right.
you only use what's in your pantry or freezer, and then you set yourself a really minimal dollar amount. So for me, it's $10 max per week for
Uh-huh.
necessities like olive oil.
Uh-huh.
And then if you have appropriate storage, you can buy beautiful beans from Rancho Gordo, or you can get just Goya beans and rice, and those together make a perfect protein. Tinned fish and
Uh-huh.
tinned chicken and lots of tinned vegetables. All of
Exactly.
those things can work for you.
Yeah, that's a great idea. I love that because then it gives you a chance to use what's in your pantry if you bought it and it's like been sitting there. So now, hey, let's use it up and so it doesn't get wasted. That's a great idea.
And it gives you like it's fun because you have to be really creative, and
Right.
it helps you manage your inventory like you said, so you're getting through all of this stuff that you've accumulated, and you're making space for new stuff to go
Mm-hmm.
on the
To go
shelves.
on the shelves. Exactly. Yes. That's great. Another great idea.
Yay. Okay, and then let's see what else. So good storage is definitely really important.
Uh-huh.
So having hard-sided, airtight containers to keep out pests
Uh-huh.
for, flour and nuts, grains, and all of those things.
Definitely.
And then if you don't have a vacuum sealer
Uh-huh.
for to prevent freezer burn, there's a
Yes.
really cool trick. Just look up the Ziploc water trick online. But
Uh-huh.
basically, what you do is put the food into an open Ziploc container and
Right.
then dip it into a pot of water, and the water will push out the air, and then you just zip it across the top, and you have
Oh,
vacuum sealed it.
wow. How about that? Yes.
And it makes it
That's
really easy.
great.
Just
Yeah, really easy, and you don't need to have the sealer either. So that's
yeah,
great. Just buy a box of Ziplocs.
and make sure they're the freezer safe ones because those are a
Yes.
little bit thicker.
Oh, okay. That's great.
And then let's see, scratch cooking. Obviously, you are familiar with that, but
Yes.
making your own bread. Like
Hmm.
when I go to Aldi, it's $4 for a loaf of bread, but if I
Yes.
make sourdough at home, it costs less than $1.
Exactly.
Um, and if you're not, you know, familiar with doing that yet, try
Uh-huh.
using a bread machine, or start with like basic yeasted breads, or even do flatbreads and tortillas. All of those things are very
Exactly.
simple.
Uh-huh.
Um, Buying dried beans instead of canned will
Uh-huh.
save you about, I mean, it's like 30% of the cost if you make them yourself. Um,
Definitely.
Making your own homemade pancakes and waffles and breakfast sandwiches and freezing them. And then
Mm-hmm.
you have those things to microwave in the morning. Homemade
Mm-hmm.
ice cream, homemade deli meat, all of those things are super easy to do, and it will
Uh-huh.
save you a ton of money.
That's a great idea. Yes. Yeah, yeah.
And if you don't have any of these like machines,
Uh-huh.
one of my favorite tricks is to look into your library card. A lot of libraries have equipment rentals.
Oh,
So you
do
can go and
they?
you can check out an ice cream maker, or you can
Uh-huh.
check out a stand mixer, or whatever it
Huh.
is that you need.
Right.
Um, and you can also get free seeds. So we have a seed exchange at our library. So
Mm-hmm.
if you have a little garden, or even if you just want to keep some herbs on your windowsill to save a little bit of money.
Yes. Yeah, I always recommend doing your own like herbs because they've gotten very expensive and it's great to be able to use. I know, yes.
Those tiny little clamshells, and it's like two sprigs of
I
rosemary for
I
$3.
know exactly, exactly. And it's, if you're getting the seeds free, sometimes if you have to pay for them, you can get them pretty cheap anyway, and they'll get you, lots of herbs versus, yes, buying them in the clamshell. So
And
definitely. Hmm.
and what a difference it makes in flavor to have that little bit of freshness. Even if you're cooking
Yes.
absolutely from your pantry, having some parsley or rosemary or cilantro will make
Exactly. It
all the
does. It
world of
makes a
difference.
big difference, definitely. Yes. And so many people don't add it in because it's so expensive. So, just grow your own and it's easy enough to do it, right? In your own kitchen. If you don't have space outdoors, you can grow it in your own kitchen.
And
Definitely.
even if you don't have good light, they have growing light bulbs now. So
Yes.
you can just put them in, you can get them in warm tones so it looks
Hmm.
nice inside, and just in your normal lamps, put these growing
Exactly.
lights.
With the growing lights, definitely. Yes. Yes.
And libraries are great too. If they use the Libby app, you can get all of the newest magazines if you have like a little iPad. So
Uh-huh.
that's how I scroll through Bon Appetit and
Oh,
Food and
wow.
Wine and
Hmm.
all of those good ones.
So you can get that
Yeah,
for free, that app from the library. Okay, that's great
yes.
to know.
Um, okay, what's the next? Oh, bulk cooking.
Uh,
So a lot of my readers will ask me, like, what am I going to do if I make this big batch of something and I'll get bored?
mm-hmm.
So I like to follow sort of the Abra Behrens method. She wrote Grist, which is one of my favorite cookbooks of all time.
Uh-huh.
But rather than make one dish to make endlessly for the week, prep the
Right.
different components and then mix and match in different ways.
That's a great
So
idea.
roast off a bunch of veggies, make a
Mm-hmm.
big pot of grains, make a vinaigrette and a chimichurri, and then you can mix and match so you don't get bored.
Exactly. That's a great idea.
And then we're on a pizza kick right now, so I love making pizza dough because
Uh-huh.
in the summer I don't want to turn on the oven to make sourdough
Yes.
pizza or sourdough
Bread.
bread.
Uh-huh.
But then with the pizzas, you can use whatever bits and bobs are floating around in your refrigerator, and it's a great way to use up leftovers in a fun new way.
It is. It is a great way, definitely. Yeah, that's a great idea. So, yep, go ahead. We're almost out of time, but give us one more tip.
I guess my favorite one would be always keep an easy cheat on hand to
Uh-huh.
prevent impulse ordering out.
That's
So
good.
just like a frozen pizza and a salad kit is our go-to. Or if
Uh-huh.
I have done some batch cooking, I like to double up and then freeze half for later. So
Uh-huh.
if you have something that you can just defrost and you know it's going to be delicious, that's the way to go.
Yep, that is. And yes, ordering out has gotten so expensive also. Definitely. So all great. Love those tips. So tell us where we can find you online.
So I am at confessionsofAgroceryaddict.com.
Okay.
So that's my blog. And then I have a pretty active Pinterest page.
Okay.
Um, I'm not really great with the other socials.
Okay.
Instagram and Facebook just aren't good for me.
Okay. So, and on Pinterest, is it Confessions of a Grocery Addict also on there?
It is.
Okay. Okay. So people can find you there. Well, that's great. All wonderful tips. So, thanks so much for sharing those, and hopefully you'll come back in the future and share some more with us. We'd love to have you back
I would
again.
love that.
Yes,
Yeah,
definitely.
I have a whole list still
I'm
waiting for
sure
you.
you do. I'm sure you do. I'm sure you do. Thanks so much for being here, Ashley. Thanks for listening to the Maria Liberati Show, and thanks to my producer, Britton Roselle, and this week's special guests. And just a reminder, again, don't forget to look at our best of summer products for 2024. You can find those at themarialiberatishow.com. We've also shared them on social media, and we've shared links to them, but go to themarialiberatishow.com. You'll find 3 summer product guides, and these are the products that we picked as the best of summer. And I've been giving a shout out to different products, and let's see, one of the other products that we really like that was really a convenient product is called Handsies, and these are all natural wet towelettes that you can take with you. You can just have them in your car, so if you need to wash your hands really quickly, if you go camping, traveling, they make a great item to take along with you. And one other item that I really love too in the guide is the company's called Pickytarian, and they are compostable but really elegant dishes and forks and knives that are compostable. They're not made of plastic. They're a non-toxic material, and they make a great way to serve your picnic foods or just casual, if you're having a casual event or really any event, because they're really beautiful looking, compostable. I love the shapes, compostable plates and forks and knives and everything. So check out Pickytarian, and you can find them on the Best of Summer Products Guide for 2024. There are 3 at themarialiberati.show.com. And just want to mention that you can find my Gourmand World Award-winning book series, The Basic Art of Italian Cooking, at marialiberati.com, on amazon.com, on Kindle, and really anywhere books are sold. And you can also find me on Instagram at Maria Liberati. And by the way, if you follow me there, you'll get a chance to win a copy of one of my coffee table sized books. Just follow me on Instagram at Maria Liberati. And you can find me on Facebook at Chef Maria Liberati, on Twitter at Maria Liberati, on Pinterest at Maria Liberati, our YouTube channel where you can also see video of many of our podcasts, the Maria Liberati Show channel on YouTube. And if you're in the Philadelphia area, on Saturdays at 1:30 in the afternoon, you can hear another version of the Maria Liberati Show. Sometimes we have different guests there on WWDB AM 860 on the dial. It's AM. And if you're not in the listening area, you can actually pull it up online at www.dbam.com. And until next time, peace, love, and pasta.